Eagles. I've got another fun artist to teach you about. He's actually probably one of the most unusual artists of the 20th century, which was the century before the one that we are living in right now. So he was born in Spain in 1904, and I'm actually going to introduce you to a book that is going to talk about our artist. His name is Salvador Dali. And these books, there's a series of them. They're by Mike Venezia. And I absolutely love them because they give a lot of great information about artists. And they also kind of make it a fun way for kids to read about them because there'll be kind of some comics and things like that about the artist. So that makes it quite fun. Salvador Dali's best-known paintings are called surrealistic. Most of them are filled with mysterious objects or familiar objects that have been oddly changed. So surrealism actually breaks down into super real. And so that's where you get the whole idea of kind of like a dream-like situation where in your dreams, when you're having them, they don't feel like a comic or like a cartoon. They feel like real. And but then when you think about them the next morning when you wake up, you're like, how in the world did that happen? Okay, so they feel real, but they're not. They're not. Okay, so that's where we get this kind of surrealism. Even though things Dali painted look very real, his paintings can be hard to understand. That's because many of the scenes he chose to paint came right out of his dreams. This one is called Metamorphosis of Narcissus. It was painted in 1934, and you can see the flower, the narcissus flower right there. Just before Salvador Dali was born, a terrible thing happened to his mother and father. Mr. and Mrs. Dali's first son died. When their baby arrived, they decided to name him Salvador after the child they had just lost. They treated the new Salvador as though he were their first son and were very protective of him. Why doesn't Salvador eat his beans? Salvador always ate his beans. Why isn't Salvador drinking his milk? Salvador always drank his milk. Gee, I'm not my brother Salvador. I'm me. At least, I think I'm me. The second Salvador was very confused while he was growing up. Because he was confused, Salvador Dali acted different from other children. He had strange dreams and fears, and he always wanted attention. Help, help! They're coming closer! I can't stand it! Help! Save me! Oh dear, what's wrong with poor Salvador? I think he saw a grasshopper or something. Salvador Dali often showed things in his paintings that he remembered from his childhood, even the things that frightened him. There is a grasshopper. Even after he grew up, Dali kept doing things to get attention, like arriving at an event in a limousine filled with cauliflowers, or giving a talk about his art while wearing a deep-sea diving suit. I'm here! Where? We can't see him because the limousine is full of cauliflowers. Mumble, 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 mumble. What did he say? What? I don't know. What? Huh? They can't understand him because he's in that deep-sea diving suit. He said he received messages from outer space through his mustache, which acted like an antenna. People couldn't wait to see what Salvador Dali would come up with next. Why don't you paint a big blob and put ants crawling on it? Good idea. Thanks. While he was growing up, Salvador Dali had a wonderful imagination and was very interested in art. He may have started painting when he was only 8 years old at his family's summer home. The Dali family spent every summer in Cadaqués, Spain, which was right on the sea. Artists from all over would come to paint the beautiful scenery there. Some of them were friends of the Dali family. Salvador Dali loved the landscape around Cadaqués and included scenes he remembered in many of his later paintings. So you'll see the scenes from that area in several of his paintings, several of his works. When he was a teenager, Salvador went to Madrid, the capital city of Spain, to enter its School of Fine Arts. Everything seemed fine at first, but soon Salvador got tired of the old-fashioned way art was being taught at the school. Class, for the next 2 months, we will learn to draw the exciting box. Darn, why couldn't we learn to draw something more useful, like a melting clock, or a guy with a giant grasshopper on his head? He was more interested in the exciting new art being created in the city of Paris, France. Salvador Dali was especially interested in the paintings of Pablo Picasso, another Spanish artist who lived in Paris. Dali loved the many new and modern styles of painting that Picasso invented. And remember, we learned about Picasso earlier this year. Dali made many trips to Paris. On one of his trips, he got to meet Pablo Picasso. And this was one of the paintings of Picasso's. And then this one is one of Dali's paintings, which you can see that there's similarities in the female there. Some of Dali's early works looked very much like Picasso's paintings of that time. Dali also became interested in a group of artists and writers in Paris known as Surrealists. Surrealist artists such as Max Ernst, René Magritte, and Joan Miro thought up a whole new way of looking at things. They painted mostly what they remembered from their dreams, or anything that automatically popped into their minds. The Surrealists hoped their strange works of art would make people think and discover feelings they never knew they had. They felt that stirring up thoughts from the backs of people's minds was important for artists to do. The Surrealists liked Salvador Dali and asked him to join their group. Soon he was painting pictures filled with his own dreamlike objects. The Surrealists thought Dali was such an interesting character that they sometimes traveled to his home in Spain to be with him while he painted. Okay, so Surrealism is what I said is super real. And so it's almost dreamlike. So we are going to learn how to create a dreamlike kind of scene. And we're going to do that by cutting out magazines and cutting up magazines and making a collage. And a couple weeks ago, in our Eric Carle lesson, you guys learned about a collage. And a collage is anything that's kind of cut up and glued back together to create something new in a two-dimensional form. And we're going to do that using, this time, magazine cutouts. Okay, so the supplies that we're going to need for this collage are scissors, glue stick, magazines that you're allowed to cut up. So always make sure that you're allowed to cut them up. And then a piece of paper that you can glue all these magazine clippings to. Okay, so just those objects. But before we begin, I want to show you a painting that I did. Actually, yeah, a painting that I did several years ago. And this is it was a collage of items that I had cut out of a magazine. I glued together, and then I took that collage and I repainted it. Okay, so it's very surreal looking. Dreamlike. Obviously, these items, these things you would see separate but not together in the same scene, or not that large. Okay, and you can see here I found this years later. This is the hammock and the branch that I used in this painting. So I must have cut this out in a different paper and glued it on to my collage. Okay, so, and here is one more of Dali's paintings that I wanted to show you. A nice large one of his space and time pieces of the melting clocks. He kind of did a series of different melting clock ones, but this is one, and you can see that it's just some items, like there's the scenery of that bay in Spain that he liked to go to with his family, but then there's a random larger fish stuck there, and then there's some melting clocks. There's a branch that is cut up, and then there's these cubes. Okay, so just random kind of things juxtaposed together, and to create a different kind of looking scene that you wouldn't normally see in real life. Okay, and that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so what I would suggest when beginning this is just ripping out some pages of things that you think you might use for the collage. So first, kind of collecting some images that you might use for the collage, and then going back and cutting those out. What I would suggest is finding objects that are simple to cut. Okay, so they have like a simple edge. So I thought this croissant sandwich and the mayonnaise jar would be a pretty simple one that could be cut out. Okay, so that's an idea. There's also this interesting thing right here where this just part of this man, you can't even see his head, and that could be something that I use and easily cut out either around him or use just that section of that advertisement. Okay, here's also a mug of coffee that would be a simple shape to cut out. Okay, so that's an object that I might use. And here's this fish that I thought, oh, that's so cool. And it's a full page without any words or anything. So this would be a great background. So what you want to kind of look for are simple shapes that you can cut out, and then some sort of background, because the background almost acts like a setting for a story. You want there to be some sort of setting or place that you're going to attach all these random things together in the collage, and it kind of like pulls it together and creates a story that you could make up. Okay, so I'm going to start by cutting these out. Okay, so I have cut out my pieces, and it is time to glue. So you're going to be using a glue stick. Don't use regular Elmer's glue. Just use a glue stick, and then you're going to glue your background first onto a piece of paper. And it really doesn't matter if it's a white piece of drawing paper or not. It could be a piece of construction paper, any color, because you're covering up that whole surface area. So I'm going to glue that on first, and then you're just going to have fun arranging your pieces in a strange kind of surrealist scene. Okay, so I cut out the man without a face, and I'm going to use him as kind of the basis for my dreamlike scene. And then when I'm done with this collage, I'll show you a few examples. And I cut out that croissant, but I decided to leave out the mayonnaise because I'm going to place the sandwich kind of around
the fish,
the man. And again, finding items in a magazine that are easy to cut out, that have simple shapes is best, but getting as close to the objects as possible will help your collage look a little bit more real or surreal. Okay, so like I cut around the lettuce and the cheese and the meat on that sandwich to bring out the detail. And I'm going to use this coffee mug full of coffee as the head for my figure. And then I found this really awesome leopard print high heel stiletto. Gotta use that just for some added fun and detail. And I'm going to place that
in the coffee.
Because why not? Make sure all your little surfaces are glued down. Okay, and then I would go ahead, so we've got the images, I would go ahead and trim this off so that they don't hang off. And turn that over. Trim that. And voila, we've got our fun, interesting, and strange surrealist collage. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples just to give you some more ideas. So here's one that I did years ago. And what we've got behind here is a close-up of a corn on the cob. And then we've got a chandelier. And then I found some lips and a bicycle, and the bicycle is coming out of the lips. So, and this right here is just, I think some sort of stairwell that I thought looked good and could frame all of this, because you're trying to create some sort of a setting or a place for your collage. Okay.
Oh my.
Here's another one. This one, my eldest daughter, Autry, did. And I love it. She actually found a title that she thought fit well with this. And so this piece is called Going Places. And we've got all these fun faces and some random eggs throughout. And then this fun figure right here that's faced one direction, and the face is facing us. So very fun. And then these gigantic shoes.
And sour cream.
Okay. And of course, yes, some sour cream. Okay. And we got this other great one that my son did with an eagle sitting on a stack of pancakes, which is all riding on this awesome speedboat. Okay. And he found a big outdoor kind of scene that he could use to collage on top of, to give it a setting. Okay. And then, last but not least, my daughter Ashlyn did this one, and I love this one as well. I love how she used the figures, and if you look closely, this body right here does not belong to that face or these shoes, so she even collaged very little, and then we've got this nice, yummy, refreshing drink with this face popping out behind it, and this whole scene of these birds, so it kind of creates kind of an eerie setting with that expression on that girl's face is just hilarious and fitting. And then we've got this fish, random fish, playing the clarinet. Okay, so very fun. You can have a lot of fun with this. Again, I suggest getting permission to cut up the magazines, but go through your magazines, tear out some pages of objects that you think could work, and then start like that, and then find a background, some sort of background that could fit the paper, and then just start cutting out your pieces and then arranging them to see if they kind of work together and placing them on your paper before you glue them down. Okay, have fun with this project. I enjoy it, and I know my children enjoyed it, so I hope that you guys enjoy it as well. And when you finish it, take a picture of it and send it to me at jcarey@eagles.edu. I would love to see them, and I'm excited for what you guys have been creating. So continue creating and having fun, and enjoy this great weather we're having. Okay, bye.